Next, I'd like to discuss hand to feet combinations. It starts to get a little bit more tricky here, so I want to make sure that you do have a clear understanding of all the stuff that precedes this, so that when you get to this section, it'll be that much easier. Because if you're struggling with some of the reading, and then you get to a part where there's harder technique, and then you're struggling with the reading as well as the technique, it can be very discouraging. So you want to make sure, you have a good, clear understanding of everything that has already been discussed. And I'm going to assume that as I start explaining some of these patterns. And our first pattern of hand to feet combinations is just 2 hands and 1 foot. So pretty straight ahead. I'm just going to play it just on the snare, the 1 kick drum. So it'll go like this. Now with that pattern, when you get comfortable with it, you want to start moving it around to the rest of the drums. And try to move it with your limbs together at first, and then we're going to start breaking it up. But first of all, just together, so it'd be like this. Next, you'll want to do is develop the right hand moving around, left hand staying on the snare, like this. Next, you want to have both hands moving around, like this. Once you start getting a feel for that, don't speed it up yet, because you can really make things that much more difficult for you in the long run if you speed it up too prematurely. You want to just make sure you're really comfortable with it. You should be able to sense within your body how, if it's feeling a little bit uneasy, or if you're feeling, okay, this is flowing. So you want to be able to make sure that you can feel that it's flowing before you speed it up. Also, when you go to speed it up, you want to make sure that you have control over your speeding, because if something happens where you go da 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 da, you're not having control over the limbs. So I'm going to do one where I gradually speed it up, not too fast, just kind of to show you the feel of how fast you should increase your tempo, because there are all these comfort zones of tempo that we all have, and we need to eliminate them. So the more that we can play throughout the whole gamut of tempos, the more control you're going to have. And some people would say, well, you don't practice that way. You don't practice speeding up. You don't practice slowing down, because that's the last thing you want to do. And I was told that, and I believed that for years and years, until I realized that I needed to spend some time away from the metronome and developing my own sense of time and the control over my limbs. Because when you practice speeding up and slowing down, your ears are going to become that much more acute to the sound. Your body will become that much more sensitive to the little inflections of speeding up and slowing down. So therefore, it actually helps your sense of time by practicing these routines if they're practiced correctly. You got to make sure that when you speed up, you're going, okay, I'm going to speed up just a little bit just to get a feel for it. So here is an example of it, just a slowly speed up. There we go. So you can see when I took it to a new tempo, I just didn't keep on going. I kind of took it to a new tempo and just held it so I could have control over that speed, and then slowly took it up. Now next you'd want to do is develop it with the left hand, because how should I explain this? You will be as good as your weakest limb. And generally speaking, right-handed players, it's going to be the left-handed players, it's going to be the right hand. You know, so you'll be able to want to be able to practice on your weakest limb that way to make it nice and strong. So we're going to do the same pattern all around the kit with left lead, and I'm going to go through the slowly speeding it up. Here we go. So same idea. You want to start with just the left hand stationary, you know, moving the right hand around while doing the left hand lead. And then going through all the same type of patterns and stuff as well. Then you become more comfortable with them. Then you want to interchange them. You do right hand lead, then left hand lead with the same pattern. So I'll do it between the floor tom and snare so you can get a feel for it. So it would go like this. So you kind of get the idea, and then slowly speeding it up and stuff and becoming that much more comfortable with it. The next pattern I'd like to examine is one hand and 2 feet. So we're going to start with the same thing, just on the snare. One hand, 2 foot, like this. And you move it around the kit like this. And then what you do is do it with the left hand, like this. And then alternate the hands like this. And going through the same thing of speeding it up and slowing it down so that you have more control over the pattern. You'll be able to play it in a variety of styles and tempos.